Hello and welcome to Apex Racing TV and the Apex Racing League GT Championship. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, and alongside me to take you through the action tonight is Adam Hedgecock with Sam Kumo on the cameras, and we are back here at Sebring. Adam, another good preparation for the 12 hours race happening next week, and also it's just a great opportunity to come back to this, one of the most popular tracks on the whole iRacing service.
It's certainly a good track for racing, absolutely. Of course, I was here last night for the Apex Racing League special event, the 2 hours of Sebring, which threw up some great surprises, some great battles. So, hoping for the same tonight.
Absolutely. For those of you who aren't aware, of course, the format for today's racing, 10-minute qualifying. They can set 4 laps, can the drivers in this qualifying session. And then we have a race number 1, which is the starting order will be based on that qualifying. 25 minutes in length that will be. And then we will spin the reverse grid wheel, and whatever number it comes up with, we will reverse the grid by that amount, and we'll have a 40-minute race to cap off the evening. This is round 3 of the championship, and we've kind of got a decent idea already, Adam. I think we had a decent idea as well after Watkins Glen as well, who the front runners in this series is going to be. I think in the amateur standings, it could really go up and down all the way through the season. But in terms of the pro, it really seems like Satellite Racing, a fantastic points haul last time at Raid Atlanta, and they now occupy the top 3 places in the championship.
They're definitely the team to beat, aren't they? And they're not scared about racing each other either. We've seen that in the first 2 rounds already. Evo SR trying to get in and around them when they can, but Satellite have been uber dominant, to say the least, so far.
Yeah, they've been able to claim pretty much all the race victories. In fact, I think they have got all the race victories so far. Karani with a couple, and Anja with one, Andre with another. So Anja currently leads the championship. Andre in second, Karani in third, and then best of the rest is Ampal. But he's not too far off, is Ampal. Top of the amateur drivers at the moment is Bob Humphrey, and he has actually got a decent lead, has Bob Humphrey. He's ahead of Brandon Warren and Tom Stevens at the moment. Also Joseph Saul and Kev Copeland still very much in that championship. So it could be an interesting one. I think this is also a good opportunity, I guess, today, Adam. Some drivers would have put in hours upon hours upon hours of practice for this one. Some drivers may be delaying their 12 hours practice until next week, and so I think we could see a slightly mixed up order where maybe some amateur drivers, for example, or some low down pro drivers, maybe have got a nice setup on their hands and could perhaps challenge for podiums.
This track is it's quite punishing on the car, and you really do need it hooked up, especially turn 1 and Sunset, the last corner, where it's all the concrete slabs. It bounces around like a madman. So you need a real good setup here. And as you say, some of the drivers who are slightly lower down, they could just have that magic bullet tonight. They could have that setup that can really propel them. And being so early in the season, still, we're only at round 3. Everyone's still got plenty of points to play for. You know, they've all got a chance still. So yeah, like we said at the beginning, it's looking pretty dominant for Satellite, but everyone's still got that chance, and that's what they should hold on to.
Absolutely, and at the moment they aren't occupying the top spots on the grid. It's currently Tom McMahon on provisional pole. Stephen Brumfield was very strong last time out, the 193 car. And he is approaching the line, and he does improve as well. He goes up to 7th place, a couple of places gained, 3 places gained for him there. So at the moment, it's McMahon on pole. John Gordon, the amateur driver, John Gordon, is in 2nd place. That is quite a turn up for the books for a Gold Racing team. Daniel Lee has also just put himself up into 2nd place. 2 of the top 3 places occupied by amateur drivers, which is something that we perhaps see a little bit more in the other Apex Racing League series, but certainly not in this one. Now Dion Phillips moves up into 3rd place. So this is what we were talking about, real mixed up grid. Andre in 7th place, Anja in 8th. Just trying to see, Karoni hasn't set a lap time yet. So, well, this could be a really interesting race one as it's looking up. Here comes Karoni, though, to be honest. He might just be able to dash the hopes of his opponents, and that is what he does. He goes to the top of the standings, does the 1:13 car, an awesome lap time, 1/10 of a second faster than Tom McMahon, and that is quite a benchmark for the others to aim for.
I have to admit, if you're Daniel Lee right now, you're only 4/10 behind Caroni. That's a mega effort from the AM driver, and as you said, same with Gordon. Really good effort from the AMs there. But Caroni showing his speed once more. Never count this guy out. He'll always find a lap somewhere.
Definitely. The circuit might get a little bit slower as we go through this session. It's currently 9:17 in the morning. Track temperature 25 degrees. Of course, all these drivers are by themselves, so the track won't warm up too much due to them being on it. But at the same time, of course, it is getting late, so it's getting a little bit warmer. As I was saying, that it's gone up to 26 degrees now, the track temperature. So you really do need a couple of strong laps, and this place is tricky to get a perfect lap in, as Adam was saying just a moment ago. Of course, really is a challenge for the car with the bumps around this place. And so it is very important that you get a good benchmarking straight away. Daniel Lee almost takes pole position, only a fraction of a second slower than Tom McMahon, who's put himself into provisional pole as well. So Caroni has got to go beat it again, and Garzotto as well putting himself up into 5th place. Eipenberg as well with a good lap to go into 6th. And at the moment, Syandra down in 12th.
It seems like he's struggling a little bit, does Andre in 5th and Andrew in 12th, as you say. Powell not putting in particularly good laps either. We're used to seeing him being a little bit quicker. Garzotto, good to see him up in 4th. He certainly struggled at the start of the season at Watkins. And Caroni, another lap just entered there, 56.3, still not good enough, only 3rd.
Yes, I think he invalidated his first lap time to Caroni, so I think he's got one more to go. However, you do have to complete your lap time by the time that the 10 minutes comes up, and just like Enric Andre at the moment, I don't think he's going to make it. He's only about halfway around the circuit, and we've only got 40 seconds to go. This is a 2-minute lap, so yeah, he's not going to make it. Here's Andre, unless he can cut a couple of corners. So maybe it's going to be Syandra, the one who's got the best chance of taking pole position of Tom McMahon, who's also coming to the end of his lap. He's just going into Sunset Bend, I believe. Andre's not going to make it. Taj Edwards in 9th place. He's going to have an opportunity to improve as well. And Daniel Lee might be able to get in a lap time. In fact, actually, Lee's going to miss out. So here comes Andra. Can he improve on his lap time? McMahon simultaneously moving to the line as well. Andra crosses, and it's an invalidated lap time, so it's no improvement for Syandra. And Tom McMahon, despite not improving on his last lap time, it's enough for him to take pole position, his first pole position of the season. So that was a great qualifying session, and fortunately we got an entire formation left to indulge in it a little bit more as well. But the drivers are currently getting onto the grid before we do set off this pace lap, and it is Tom McMahon on pole position, as I was saying, by 3/100ths of a second ahead of Dan Lee. What an effort from Daniel Lee. He's clearly been putting in a lot of practice for the 12 hours. Jawad Caroni starts in 3rd place. Good opportunity for him to make up some points on his teammates in today's race. Jeffrey Garzotto lines up in 4th, his best qualifying of the season. There's Enric Andre in 5th, Dion Phillips in 6th. Dennis Eipenberg, Nick Rowland, Taj Edwards, and Jordan Gordon round out the top 10. Then it's Damian Harris, Aaron Powell, Syandra starting down in 13th place. No doubt will make up some good places. And Stephen Brumfield lines up in 14th, only 0.8 of a second slower than the pole position time. That's how close it is today. Then it's Paolo Prieto, Tom Stevens, Ronald Moons, Frederick Nick, Bob Humphrey, amateur championship leader, of course, is Humphrey, lining up in 19th. Then it's Joseph Saul rounding out the top 20. Behind that's Jonathan Kearns, Kevin Boland, Derek Holland, John Chessida, Rafe Cullinan, great to see him on the grid, Kevin Kittelman, Kev Copeland, Brandon Warren, Bradley Hulse, Russ Davis, and then Craig Jones, Mick Barry, and Brian Hotham. Did not set qualifying times. Hopefully we will see them take the grid though.
Certainly a mixed bag going into this first race, isn't it? Great to see an amateur in Lee up in second place, and Gordon ran out the top 10 as the second place dam. Once again, we see Warren with a bad qualifying. We praised him so well for his racecraft in the first 2 races. It just seems he can't get a qualifying together.
Yeah, I don't want to be harsh to him either, but he's a long way off in qualifying, considering how quick he is in the race. He did a 59.8, that's compared to McMahon's 56.3. So that is 2.5 seconds, 3.5 seconds even. And in the race, he's only about 1 second slower. So that is clearly something that he needs to improve. I think we had a chat with him last week anyway, and he did say that's something that he's trying to work on. I am personally atrocious in qualifying, so I'm sure I would struggle to break the 2-minute mark. So he's not doing badly. Is Brandon Warren, but yeah, certainly watch out for him. Kev Copeland as well, a little bit further down the order. Also, just looking at Taj Edwards. Taj Edwards has just towed back to the pits. I wonder if there's been an issue for him. He seemed to pull off to the side of the circuit, no damage on that car. So maybe a hardware issue for him, an issue locally. Big shame for Edwards, because that was a great qualifying up in 9th.
Could be that he forgot to put his race fuel back in.
Good shouts.
That could be a thing. I know I've done that a few times myself in the ARL TCR League. So yeah, I think he might just jump back now, get the car filled up, and take the pit lane start. Shame though, it is definitely a shame.
Could be a blessing in disguise. We have seen some big crashes around this circuit at Sebring, particularly just Joe's running wide through turn 1, and then of course spinning up the tyres and spinning back onto the circuit. Of course, the new tyre model on these machines, something that we haven't really talked about too much, despite it being a big change. That could well be something to a part of the reason why we're seeing a bit more of a mixed up grid today. Have you had an opportunity to try out the new tyre model on the GTE or the GT3 cars so far, Adam?
I've tried it on the GT3 on the Audi. That's what I race in the World GTs on Monday nights, and I have to say it's brilliant. The first 2 laps are exciting. You're going on a real adventure, but once the tyres come in, it's glorious. It's so much fun. I really liked it when it came in with the TCR. I was literally devastated when they changed it to make it a little less adventurous, with the warm up. But yeah, I think it's working out. And as you say, people running wide at turn 1, it's not uncommon here. And if someone is out there, you've got to hope that you've got enough grip to not drift out into them, because there's a wall there, and well, 2 into 1 always ends in an accident, and we don't want to see that, do we?
Absolutely not. We want to see as many drivers get through the opening lap as possible, because another very healthy grid today. Thanks to all the drivers for turning up. Thanks to all of you on YouTube and Facebook for tuning in. Hopefully we'll see a couple of very good races. 25 minutes, of course, this first race. It's a lights to flag, no issues with fuel, nothing like that. It is absolutely the fastest gets to the race win, as the Mustang pace car, the best pace car, rounds Sunset Bend. Watch out for those cold tyres, as Adam was saying, can get adventurous in these opening stages. But it's the Evo SR driver of Tom McMahon, the British GT champion, who starts off this race 1 at Sebring. It's a tricky start for the drivers further down the order. It seemed like it was a delayed start from McMahon, and it's given the opportunity straight away for Crony to move up into second place. So fantastic start for the Satellite Racing driver. Brumfield has gained 6 places, a remarkable start already for Stephen. I wonder if he really took advantage of that slight hesitation that the other drivers had. Now there's a spin it further down. I think that might be Anja potentially dropping down the order. It is Anja, and he got hits, I believe, from one of the Porsches. Not sure who that one was, but yeah, got hit by a Porsche and spins round, and now we've got a couple of others. Maybe Kittelman, who caused that initial contact, and now also Warren as well, dropping down the order. Jones, I think, having troubles as well, as very wide goes Daniel Lee, really struggling, perhaps on these cold tyres. And we've got another spinner as well in the gold racing car. That's John Gordon after a brilliant qualifying. Bradley Hulse as well involved in that.
It certainly seems like some of the drivers out there are struggling to get a grip on these tyres. Very unfortunate early part of the race. There's so many cars on such a tight track. As we've got another driver just going off there. John Tressida having issues going into the braking zone for the right-hander there.
Yeah, Kevin Boland as well running very wide. Getting back onto the circuit, so plenty of changes. So far, Brumfield's up 7 places. I'm not sure if we'll get a replay of it now, seeing that there's still quite a lot of stuff going on. But perhaps after the race or later on when it starts to cool down a bit, it would be great to get a replay of Brumfield's start, because I assume he just put his foot down before the green flag went and absolutely managed to overtake a lots of cars. So brilliant start for him. Daniel Lee is down 7 places. Down to a 9th. He seemed to run wide at the hairpin earlier on in the lap, and now Lee is having to defend from Brumfield himself. In fact, he's just got past Brumfield. So Brumfield was up into 7th place, back down into 9th now. So not sure what's going on with that BMW, seemingly struggling perhaps still with those tyres. And he's got Damien Harris and Aaron Powell now lining up behind him.
Got to feel sorry for Lee. Qualified so well, but yeah, he sure did get freight trained on that first lap there. A lot of drivers seem to be very slow picking up the green flag. There was a lot of slow-moving cars coming across the start-finish line. I'm surprised we didn't have an accident earlier on, to be honest, but yeah, as we saw there, a few little accidents, but they've all seemed to settle down now. Single file on the most part, and settling into the race.
Taj Edwards didn't take the grid in the end, so we saw him pull to the side of the circuit on the formation lap, and then yeah, has not taken to the grid ever since then. Also, Bradley Hulse has not re-emerged yet. Mick Barry is out on circuit, so this is his first appearance of the season. I think he joined the session very, very late in the closing stages of qualifying, and he will just hope that he can finish on the lead lap and, well, yeah, finish on the lead lap perhaps, and get reverse grid pole if he's very fortunate. Of course, a full option is very possible on the reverse grid, although it is quite unlikely. Tom McMahon then leads by 0.4 of a second. Caroni, if there's some doubts about the Satellite Racing driver's pace in qualifying, they've put that to rest in the race. Just looking further down, I think Warren and Boland have just had another issue midway round the circuit, and Kittelman has just got past, and that was the battle for 27th and 28th. But yeah, McMahon, how comfortable would you say he is at the moment? I mean, 0.3 of a second ahead. Do you think Caroni's just waiting for a move, or do you think this is going to be tricky in order to get past the 126 car?
It's roles reversed now, isn't it? We're used to seeing McMahon being at the back of the satellite train, so yeah, we haven't really seen him go out in front. I want to say that he's going to be confident, he's going to take it by the scruff of the neck, and he's just going to get his head down and put the laps in. But I don't know, we haven't seen this before. How aggressive is Caroni going to be? Usually it's the satellite guys racing each other, and as we've seen, they like to have some fun. How adventurous is he going to get with McMahon? Is he going to push him as hard as he pushes his teammates? Not sure. I'm really not sure, to be honest.
Yeah, going to be a tricky decision. McMahon showed great racecraft at Road Atlanta in race 1 in particular. I think he only finished in 4th place in the end, but he was very much a lone soldier going up against an army on that occasion, and he managed to get up into 2nd place, was fighting for the lead for a little bit until he got shuffled down a little bit later on. Syandra has, Syandra, after having a very poor start, has just been able to get past Rafe Cullinan. So he's up into 18th place now, is the 1-2-4 car. Next up is Frederick Nix, and then it'll be Stevens and Moon, Saul and Preto. I think he might get as high up as Bob Humphrey. Quite a gap currently between 11th and 12th place. Humphrey kind of ahead of this train of cars. Got Preto very close to his rear end. So, as a spinning round is Ronald Moons, and has he hit the wall? He has. However, there's not too much damage on that car. No new damage model, of course, for these machines yet. Moons tries to do a a quick turn, but the traction control, I think, still on for him. Now he does get underway. That's Boland just behind him, and that's a lot of places and a lot of time lost for Ronald Moons.
Very unfortunate. Very easily done. You can drop it so easily coming out that right-hander. It's deceptively sharp and there's a big old curb. So if you get the car unsettled, it can cause all sorts of problems for you. But fortunately, he just skimmed the barrier, so no real damage to speak of, and he's underway again.
I think this is the battle for third place out of the amateur drivers. We've got Daniel Lee currently leading the amateur drivers, despite that tricky start for him. He's responded pretty well ever since then, to be fair. And then in second place is Humphrey, and then it's Preto and Saul. Oh, spin in the background. Tressida again after a collision on the opening lap. And he's really stranded there, and it's Rafe Cullen as well on his debut. Oh, as that's a little bit of a dangerous rejoin for Tressida. Doesn't make contact with anyone. Cullen has to wait ever so long to get back going. Lots of time lost for him as well.
I wonder if there was a little bit of hardware failure there. He seemed to be sitting still for a very long time, even when the track was clear. He seemed to be sitting still. As you see, Andra getting into the thick of things again, trying to get himself back up the order. Gets past Stevens at the hairpin. He's now on the tails of Frederick Nickful. Oh, a little touch there going towards the right-handed braking zone. Little push to pass there. Not ideal. Gets the job done. I don't think Frederick's going to be too happy with that, and I'm sure we'll see him flashing lights and back on the back of Stevens and Andra really soon.
Yeah, I think so. Was a tiny tap. It may have even been netcode, to be fair. But you could just see the extra momentum in that corner. You're carrying so much speed on the entry. It's pretty remarkable every time you go through that, how much speed you can actually carry, because it seems like quite a tight corner, and yet it really does come to you, does the grip. And so if you just unsettle the car slightly, it really does put you off the circuit potentially. Pretty good job from Nick to lose as little time as he did. Dennis Eichenberg has been absolutely flying recently. On the last 2 laps, he set purple lap times. On this lap, I think it's a little bit slower for him. But he's still, quick out there. Now it's Daniel Lee just behind him setting the fastest lap. I mean, it's a little bit frustrating. You wonder what Lee could have done if he hadn't have had that tricky start, if he was up in the top 3. But at least he's got an opportunity to get past maybe these 3 drivers. But once again, the competitiveness of the grid. I mean, if you get a lucky reverse grid, there's 10 or 11 drivers who could win race 2 potentially.
Well, we see it time and time again in the Apex Racing League leagues. Look at the TCR reverse grids. There's always AMs in the top 5 come the end of the second race. Sorry, not Brumfield. Who's that? Daniel Lee with another spin. Oh, he's really struggling, isn't he? Really struggling.
That's a bit of a curse. I think that might be my first curse of the season, to be honest. Adam, you've already had a couple. Yeah.
Very unfortunate. Very, very, especially coming on the back of, he set the fastest lap of the race of anybody that last time round, so it shows how hard he's pushing. Such a shame to see him go round again.
Track temperature up to 28 now, so it was 25 at the start of qualifying. I imagine it was probably as low as 23 when they first got into the practice session, and so not a whole, decreasing grip for these guys. However, that is still a decent amount of grip, and for the race 2 there'll be a lot less, because we'll change the time of day to afternoon, and the track temperature should increase by about 10 degrees but get cooler during the race, so a little bit of an opposite to this first event. Here is John Chester then trying to respond after a couple of issues earlier on. He's behind Russ Davis, and Davis defending on the inside. Chester lining this one up. Can go for a little bit of a sneak attack. Potentially. Oh, there's been an issue for McMahon from the lead, and he's dropped down to 3rd place. What has happened here? Because it's now Jawad Karoni who's leading the way. Can Andre, though, get past him? It was these 2, I believe, who collided at the last corner at Road Atlanta last week in race 1. But it would be great to get a replay of what happened to McMahon. You can see now the top 7 all in a queue.
Yeah, as you mentioned, they come to blows last time out. Funnily enough, Andre crossed the line in reverse, which was always good to see. But yeah, back to status quo now. Back to what we're used to seeing. Here we go into sunset. McMahon out in front. Does he just get a little bit loose going in? He's really bouncing hard there. Bit of understeer. Oh, he's on the grass. A little tap from Caroni just to add insult to injury. Yeah, just got a handful of understeer and just couldn't get it turned in. Such a shame.
It's remarkable how he's still in third place and seemingly got good pace, because that was a big old hit. I imagine he was half waiting for the steering wheel to pull to 90 degrees to the left there, but instead he's still going on decently, although struggling to put too much pressure on the Stats Like Racing drivers. Remember, Stats Like Racing have got all 4 race victories so far this season. Caroni with 2 already, Andre with 1 and Andrew with 1. And it looked as though their dominance was coming to an end, but yet they managed to get their way back to the front again. And McMahon, perhaps not the best placed person to challenge. Seems like Roland as well, down in 5th place. He's very quick, set the fastest lap of the race. We've seen that barrier being broken many times today. Of course, with the new tyre model, really does mean that the cars are just going faster and faster through the race. And McMahon, after defending for 1st place, it's looking like he's having to defend for 3rd place now.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's just got a little bit of aero damage from that touch with the wall, and then the hit from Caroni. That will really damage you going through the back end of this track, where a lot of it is flat out. Interested to see if Gazzotto and Roland and Phillips, even Ivanberg, they're all in with a shot of getting a P3 now, which is something that we haven't seen so far this season.
Yeah, Gazzotto, I think, certainly having his best race of the season. Apparently the Ferrari has been hurt by this new balance of performance. Not sure if there was a balance of performance change, but maybe it was the new tyre model, not quite sure. But apparently as Lee is off again, he's not liking that corner. He was in a really tight battle with Anja previously, along with Joe Saul as well, and it seemed as though they were chopping and changing a little bit. Lee defending quite hard and then pushing too hard. Oh, and now there's contact with Anja and Saul, and they're still making contact, and now they're in the middle of the circuit. Can the other drivers take evasive action? Another B team driver gets past, and Jason Saul losing a lot of places, and so too is Sai Anja, the championship leader going into this event. He's going to be far from that now. He's going to do very well just to get within the reverse grid.
It all seemed very clumsy, didn't it, coming away from that hairpin. Lee again having problems in the braking zone for it, and Andrew, who we don't usually see get involved in many incidents, not big ones like that. He seems to be falling over people quite regularly this race. That said, we do have a reverse grid for the second race, so maybe this is a time to consolidate what you've got and just aim for a high starting position in the second race.
Here comes Garzotto on McMahon. McMahon really struggling for straight line speed. Mega wide turn 1. It's tricky to really defend from this position. However, lots of grip on the outside. The outside is the outside again for turn 2. Is there any way back for McMahon? And there isn't. So through goes Garzotto. He's up into 3rd place. This would be his first podium of the season. He didn't even get a podium, I believe, in American GT last season either. So this is some brilliant driving from him, and now McMahon's got Roland behind him, and we know how quick that Ferrari can be down the straights. And already the Stats Like Racing driver having a look. They're all having to go to the inside just to defend from one another. I think there was a look right at the back there from Eichenberg, and it caused Phillips to defend, and then it caused Roland to defend. But McMahon is going to frustrating for him that this race is 25 minutes. He pulled me up earlier on, saying earlier on how the race was accidentally set up as 20 minutes. I'm sure he'd be very pleased if it was 20 minutes at this point.
It's so tough to go into a heavy braking zone like that with so many cars, because where you're used to braking might be a 2 marker or a 3 marker. All of a sudden you're having to add sort of another 20 metres, 30 metres just to accommodate all the cars, and they're all kind of feeling each other out, having a little look. But we can see how much the damage compromised McMahon. The gap now up to Andre and Caroni is quite substantial. So Yeah, I think those two are away and done. And the battle now is for McMahon to see how many people he can fend off. But they're all chomping at the bit, aren't they? They all want that third place.
Here comes Roland. Nearly. There was a wall in the way, though. Really tricky to pass into Sunset. It's almost just a setting up corner, but then at the same time, it's kind of tricky to follow as well, because if you don't quite get your line right, it can be big problems. Here comes Andre, though, for the race lead. Karoni's going to defend round the outside. It's not going to happen, though, for him. And through goes Enric Andre. He's on course for his second race victory of the season and the championship lead, I believe it would be. And that was a textbook move for the Sebring circuit. Like I was saying earlier on, it's tricky to defend going into turn one, such as the width of the track at the starts of the lap. And Andre now with the upper hand. However, you wouldn't bet the 113 car out of a chance of victory.
No, this is far from over. As you say, at turn one, as we see Eipenberg making a cheeky little move into the hairpin there. Moves him up a position over Brumfield. Sorry, that was Phillips.
Oh, yeah, I think Phillips just defending.
I'm struggling with I had this problem yesterday. I do apologise. But as I was saying, turn one, you can't really defend it, because if you take the tight line, you lose momentum. If you defend the outside, you're leaving the inside open. There's no real way to defend it. And yeah, I'm not surprised that we've seen a couple of moves now. Going around the outside, just carrying that momentum and taking a position.
Nicked in the wars again. Gets past though. That was for 14th place. Apologies, I think he's defending at the moment from John Gordon. Yes, he is. This is the way around that they were at the start of the lap. Gordon, who was, had a really good qualifying day, Gordon, but not doing quite as well in the race. I think had a tricky start, to be fair, dropped down, but we've seen so many drivers with spins. Not too many retirements, because they do get one faster pair as well. Nicked is well offline, and offline again. He was almost so offline that it meant that the Gold Racing driver behind him couldn't get a clear run out to it, and yet I think still John Gordon will have the upper hand going into Sunset Bend. We're also seeing McMahon drop way down the order at the moment. Tom McMahon with massive issues at the moment, right at the start of the of lap 10. He has got back on his way as Nix goes very wide himself and does lose that place to John Gordon. So now McMahon's down to 10th place, the pole sitter, the race leader for half of this first race of the evening. And this is how it happened. He was defending, and made contact with Roland. He's going to do well to get away from that one without damage, and that's similar to what you were talking about earlier on, Adam. It's tricky to defend into that corner, and so if you are going to defend, you've got to be very aggressive, and, well, maybe McMahon was too aggressive on that occasion.
Yeah, very close to the wall there. Was there enough room to stick it up the inside? From that angle, we couldn't really see, but you have to be aware of that. The walls, they do come into play going into the braking zone there. Would they have made the corner braking that shallow? Probably not. But it's done now. It's done. McMahon's day is going from bad to worse, and again, he'll be looking forward to race 2 in a reverse grid.
Could be a very good reverse grid for him, although he's been caught by Bob Humphrey. I think he's really off the paces, is McMahon, so going to do well to stay within the top 10. Still got a few more laps to go. Just 5.5 minutes to go, and Andre is just about to complete this lap. So 3 more laps to go, I believe, after this one for Andre. Here is McMahon. That doesn't seem to have too much steering damage, although there is a little bit, maybe about 3 or 4 degrees, I think. And Humphrey has taken a 1.5 seconds out of him in the second half of this lap alone, so we can kind of imagine he's probably losing about 3 seconds a lap to the drivers behind him. Now he's going to come into the pits for a faster pair. Oh dear. Tom McMahon, usually Mr. Reliable, and yet this race has had an absolutely atrocious trajectory just the last 10 minutes from 0 to 0.
Never rains, but it pours. Paulo Preto on your screen. We saw a lot of him yesterday, the Scuderia Sul Brazil driver. He came with his fan club in the chat yesterday. I'm sure they'll be watching again today. Had a good outing yesterday, and he's having another good one today, currently running P2 in the amateur category.
Yeah, and he's kept the car possibly cleaner than anyone else. I swear, I don't think he's been involved in a crash. So he deserves some airtime because I think we've given pretty much everyone else a little bit of airtime. Who else has had a really clean race? Tom Stevens as well, in 12th place, 7 seconds further back. Haven't seen him involved in anything, driving for the B team. Is he the B team? He is, yeah. Of course, B team in collaboration with Evo SR, hence my confusion. Kev Copeland kept pretty good out there, up 10 places into 17th now. Because he's ahead. Oh, just looking at it actually. McMahon's just come out of the pits and he's right behind Andrew. I mean, I don't think you could write. If you wrote that in a script, I don't think anyone would believe you. But two of the top drivers fighting for 19th and 20th, along with Ronald Means. No disrespect to Ronald Means, of course. He is a very good driver, but perhaps not quite to the class of these guys. And if Andrew can't get past soon, McMahon is going to be right on the tail of him. Currently, we have got the top 27 drivers eligible for the reverse grid. So if we got a reverse grid size of 7 or 8, these guys would be right in line for perhaps a race 2 victory.
If you're Tom McMahon, you've got to be questioning what you've done wrong today, haven't you? Because you've had some incidents, you've had a crash, you've come into the pits, got repaired, going to get your head down and put some laps in, and you're behind another satellite car.
Yeah.
What have you got to do? What have you got to do? But no, as you said, if there's a suitable grid, reverse grid for them, they're going to be right at the front again, hoping for better time out. Phillips battling with Roland and Eipenberg here, really having a strong race is Phillips. Of course, we've seen him in World GT perform really well in GT3s and GTEs, so we know that he's certainly a capable driver. Yeah,
and the Sim Racers World GT Championship as well, Phillips has been very impressive in representing Venom Works for this series. He's to the outside now of Nick Rowland. Can he get the inside, keep his nose on the inside there? Rowland made contact earlier on, he's made contact again. They get back going, hard into the wall now, and that is a massive crash for Dion Phillips. He is back going, but if you hit your roof, usually that is a lot of damage. And once again, just a little bit of lack of respect, I think, from either driver, not leaving themselves a whole lot of room, and Phillips may just come to a stop here and tow back to the pits.
I want to apologise profusely to Dion for cursing him.
That was a curse.
another week, another curse, unfortunately. But hey, yeah, it is what it is. That's unfortunate. As you said, just a little bit of not necessarily a lack of respect. They just plainly didn't leave enough room, and we saw the result of that. McMahon now on the coattails of Andra, really pushing hard to try and get a place over a satellite driver. Makes you wonder what Andra's kind of thinking right now. You know, is he going to play a I want to say a trickster's role? Let McMahon have the position for this race so that he can get a better starting position next race, maybe.
That's a good shout. I'm not sure because Garzotto! No, that's not fair. Jeffrey Garzotto from 3rd place. He was a comfortable 3rd as well. 3 seconds clear of Eipenberg. And he drops down to 8th now. That is a big shame. Nick Rowland moves back up into 7th place. Then it's Eipenberg. I don't think he's overtaken anyone, but he's gained 3 places in the last lap or so. And he's up into 3rd place. Aaron Powell, haven't seen too much of him. It's up into 6th place now. Was ever so strong at Watkins Glen, not quite backing out that pace up at Watkins Glen or today, but he's kept it clean. He's only 10 seconds off the lead, to be fair, as well, Powell. And Damian Harris as well. These guys coming out of nowhere up into 5th and 6th places, the teammates, and really aren't too far off the podium places even. But what a shame for Garzotto. I mean, he'd driven a perfect race, but and was keeping up with the leaders as well, but not going to finish in the top 8 anymore.
No, definitely a shame to see. Definitely a shame to see. But yeah, you said, Eichenberg, Harris coming out of nowhere. Brumfield, gain of 10 positions, currently running fourth. A stellar performance from him. And Bob Humphrey, another gain of 10 positions, up into ninth position overall and leading the AM category.
Or Cheseda, very wide, and taps the wall. He will lose out to Boland and Kitzelman, and perhaps Hotham as well. As apologies, Enric Andre has got to the line as Garzotto's run out of fuel as well. Andre, though, wins his second race victory of the season. Apologies for missing that one, but it was comfortable in the end, 1.6 seconds ahead of Jawad Karoni. Dennis Eichenberg finishes in third place. Who's going to finish? This will be 14th, I think. 15th, probably. Andrea, as they move past the Strucken Garzotto, he's got no fuel left. Andrea, I think, is going to beat McMahon. That could turn out to be a reverse grid pole. I think the reverse grids go up to 15, and Andrea will get 15. So if it is a reverse grid of 15, then that would be absolutely remarkable. Copeland just beating Moons in the background. I think that was a late move. Garzotto, well, he's still going. I'm surprised he's got that much pace in the car. He's still got a bit of momentum. He will get to the line. So if we have a big reverse grid, I mean, it will have to be a full reverse grid as everyone gets past him. Garzotto, is he going to make it? Oh, he's going to make it. He's got 95 seconds. Has he got any teammates, Garzotto? I'm not sure. Well, oh yeah, of course, Gold Racing Team, so someone could give him a shove. I don't think he's going to need it.
The anticipation.
One would think that we're showing this in slow motion, but anyone who's just tuned in, this is real. Garzotto takes the checker flag. 26th place. Remarkably, he wasn't the last driver on the lead lap. Apologies, no, he wasn't the last driver running. Brandon Moore was 1 lap down. But he will be, so if we get a full reverse grid, Garzotto will be in a good place. But what a shame, could have finished on the podium. So the results then from race 1 here at Sebring. Enric Andre wins out 3 seconds ahead of Jawad Karoni. Dennis Eichenberg finishes in third for his first podium of the season. Stephen Brumfield finishes in fourth. There's Damien Harris, great driver from him, great driver from Aaron Powell as well. Nick Rowland, could the podium have been his if he didn't make contact in the closing stages? He finishes in 7th, still good points. Bob Humphrey, top of the amateur drivers in the end, kept it clean. And, well, he was well down on the grid, 19th, but finishes top of the AM drivers. And, yeah, he's going to be extending that championship lead. Paolo Prieto, first top 10 of the season for him. John Gordon in 10th. There's Tom Stevens, Daniel Lee. Where could have he been, Lee? Had terrific pace, but 2 spins. Frederick Nicht, good result for him in 13th. There was Joseph Saul, Cyanger with troubles, McMahon with an extra pit stop. Kev Copeland was 17th. There was Ronald Moons, Derek Holland, Kevin Boland, Jonathan Kearns, John Tressida, Kevin Kitzelman, Craig Jones, Brian Hotham, Jeffrey Garzotto running in 3rd place for so long, and then a crash and running out of fuel, finishes in 26th place, will be the last driver eligible for the reverse grid. 1 lap down was Brandon Warren, 2 laps down was Dion Phillips, and then the retirees were Russ Davis, Rafe Cullinan, Mick Barry, Bradley Hulse, and Taj Edwards. Took the formation lap, but did not take the start. So Sam, I think it's his time to spin the reverse grid wheel.
Yes, it's that time again, and the wheel's on the screen. Let's see, does Jeffrey get lucky or not? And it is 12.
12. Small reverse grid. That means that Daniel Lee will be on pole position. Tom Stevens will be alongside him on the front row of the grid. Great shame for Anja and McMahon, because it was looking as though pretty odds on that they would be within the reverse grid, but nope, they're going to be starting behind their championship rivals. So like I said, Lee will be starting on the front row once again. Tom Stevens in 2nd place, and it'll be Gordon, Prieto and Humphrey. So a lot of AM drivers At the front of that field, Enric Andre, race 1 winner, will be starting in 12th place. Race 1 was very exciting. Hopefully you'll join us back for race 2. We'll be back with you on Apex Racing TV in 15 minutes. Welcome back to the Apex Racing League GT Championship live on Apex Racing TV. Once again, I am Sam Fitzpatrick, and once again, I'm joined alongside by Adam Hedgecock with Sam Kumo on the cameras. And we just witnessed a fantastic race 1. We got a 40-minute race 2, but Adam, it was the smallest reverse grid we can have. It was the smallest reverse grid we've seen all season, just 12 cars being reversed, and that means that pretty much all the top guys are in a tricky situation. We saw some guys in like 14th, 15th, they will still be starting in those places. And so I got the top 5 on this grid, all amateur drivers. It's an opportunity perhaps for a surprise win.
Absolutely it is. It usually we like these bigger reverse grids because it really mixes up the AMs and the pros and makes the pros drive through the field, and try and be as clean but as quick as possible. But yeah, it's such a small one. Not entirely sure how it's going to play out. As we're watching Garzotto on screen at the moment, he'll just be hoping he has enough fuel to finish this one, of course. But yeah, should be an entertaining 40 minutes.
Of course, Garzotto running in 3rd place for much of race 1 and then had a spin and ran out of fuel at the end. He was hoping for a full reverse grid. Instead, he'll be starting a long way down the order. 30 drivers we should have for this race 2 of the evening. And it's Daniel Lee on pole position. He started in 2nd place in race 1, fell down in the opening stages. Hopefully, we see him getting a better start in this race 2. Tom Stevens starts alongside him. That's John Gordon, Paolo Prieto, and championship leader Bob Humphrey in the amateur drivers. That's the top 5, all amateurs. Then, top of the pro drivers is Nick Rowland. He had really nice pace in race 1. And Pal kept it clean, so too did Damien Harris and Stephen Brumfield. However, they could still do very well, all pro drivers. Dennis Eichenberg rounds out the top 10. Gerard Caroni led most of race 1, but was beaten by his teammate Enric Onge, who lines up in 12th. And then it was the drivers who just missed out, Joseph Saul, Cy Anger and Tom McMahon. Mega unlucky for them, however, these are not starting too far behind their championship rivals. And then it's Kev Copeland, Ronald Moons, Derek Holland, Kevin Boland, Jonathan Kearns, John Tressida, Kevin Kittleman, Craig Jones, Brian Hotham, Jeffrey Garzotto, who of course was running in the top 3 places for most of race 1. He starts a long way down the order. Watch out for him. Russ Davis, Dion Phillips, Taj Edwards, and Bradley Hulse round out this 30-car field. John Gordon, though, he's not going to take the start. He was due to start in 3rd place, actually, was Gordon, but instead he's going to start from the pits. I assume this is a tactical move from him.
We sometimes see that from AM drivers, maybe not feeling entirely comfortable at the front of the pack for the start of a race. So taking it's not even like a lesser option. It's something that they're more familiar with, something more comfortable. Start at the back and just work their way through the field as best they can from there. It's a shame, but that's a choice that John Gordon seems to have taken.
And of course, we saw a few incidents at the start of race 1. Do you think the fact that we've got a smaller reverse grid is going to help with those starts issues? Because there are quite a few problems in race 1 throughout the race.
I'm not sure. I think, given the nature of the track, there's not a big braking zone into turn 1. It's very wide, as we've seen in the later stages of race 1. Momentum's everything. You can go around the outside, or and there's no real defending it. So I don't think. I want to say that there won't be any incidents, but I think there'll be nudges for sure. There always is at turn 1 here. Let's just hope that they can get around the first lap cleanly this time around. Of course, we saw in race 1 there was a few incidents later on in the lap, which put pay to some people's charges up the order.
Yeah, and we also saw a little bit of a strange start as well earlier on with, I think it was Brumfield, who gained something like 6 places or 7 places, basically on the run down to turn 1, where it seemed as though everyone else just got like a bit of a slow start, concertinaed up, didn't really get on the power particularly early, perhaps a little bit late. Oh, Kevin Boland has dropped down. Has he fallen off the circuit on this formation lap? I think he has, and he's now trying to get his way back past. This is always a bit nerve-wracking. Anyone who saw Apex Racing Team in the was it the Neo 24-hour series when their car got hijacked by another driver and caused absolute chaos. I think Boland may have taken his rightful position already on the grid, but that's now 2 drivers who I think have gone who are out of position, or certainly we saw one driver, of course, earlier on, didn't we? John Gordon, who was out of position, which means that everyone on the odd side of the grid has gained 2 places. So that's absolutely massive. Bob Humphrey then up into 3rd place, ahead of Paolo Prieto. Paolo is up 2 places, and it means that Caroni will start ahead of Anja, I believe. So that's quite a big change. So very good news for Caroni. He will be start in front of the championship contenders. But out in the lead, it's Lee and Stevens. The Mustang pace car is into the pits. Lee puts his foot down, and we are away for 40 minutes of racing for race 2 here at Sebring in the Apex Racing League GT Championship. So far, it's all right. Stevens and Humphrey going side by side. Can Stevens be able to make that move? Humphrey is up into 2nd place already, and Stevens getting a very poor exit. Powell is up into 3rd place. Here comes Brumfield as well down the inside, very deep on the bricks though for the Stats Like Racing driver, and it's a very poor start for Stevens, who almost makes contact with one of his teammates, as well as now he does make contact with a Gold Racing driver who falls off the circuit. That was perhaps Garzotto, I'm not quite sure, who was involved in that collision. Great shame for the pair of them.
As we saw in the first race, you go from a nice wide turn 1 into a very, very, very tight little section of corners. And yeah, sometimes you can't go 4 wide, you can't go 3 wide, and little accidents like that happen.
Of course, you've seen another collision, I think, maybe for Russ Davis as more drivers are off the circuit. It's very chaotic through that hairpin section. Russ Davis was involved, Edwards, and also Ronald Moons as well. And they're still making contacts further down the order. Just trying to get through unscathed, but real troubles for many of the drivers further down the order. Out in the lead, it's Lee though, leading by 0.3 of a second ahead of Humphrey. Powell is in 3rd, Brumfield in 4th, Caroni up 6 places, up into 5th. He's battling with Andre still, so like I said, Caroni started ahead of Andre by a couple of extra positions. He was due to start ahead of him anyway. However, gained a couple of places on the grid. You can see Andre straight away on his tail though, as into the wall is McMahon. Oh, throw away today for McMahon. It started off so well. Pole position, led much of race 1, but not anymore. Caroni has lost the place already to Enric Andre, who's on fire. Got past Caroni for the race win in race 1, and that could be a race decisive move right there on his Ferrari teammates.
Such a shame for McMahon there. Such a big, big shame. But again, here we are, satellite drivers all in a row, seeing what they can do. We've got Harris just behind them, going to try and stick with them, which will be good for him. Lee obviously had a very tough first race, out in front now. See how well he can take it to the rest of the field here.
Powell is staying within. Also, Powell has got past Humphrey. So Powell, who lost 2nd place at the start, he's since been able to get back past Humphrey. I think that may have been into Sunset potentially. But that's a shame for Bob Humphrey, who was well on course for perhaps taking the race lead here, and he's still struggling as Humphrey. He's now 1.2 seconds behind Aaron Powell, and Stephen Brumfield is going to try to get past him. What is going on with Bob Humphrey at the moment? Maybe just lacks the pace in comparison to his rivals. Certainly didn't put up too much of a fight there against the 193 car. He's now 6 places, is Brumfield. He's really got the starts here at Sebring locked down.
It could just be a tyre warm-up issue for Humphrey. Just not as comfortable on the colder tyres, and Brumfield again. We saw it in the first race as well. He's mega on these cooler tyres, making up more positions again, and he's currently running P3, chasing down Powell now.
Yeah, he looks confident in that BMW, which we believe is the strongest car now. It was pretty strong anyway, but even stronger now in comparison to the other machines. Humphrey, though, back on his tail. Seemed like it was a mistake from Brumfield going onto this back straight. Feels the need to defend, and this is just inviting the likes of Andre, Karoni, Roland. You are 3 drivers who you do not want to see sitting behind you. However, if it's any consolation, I'm not sure if they are going to be sitting behind them for a whole lot longer, because here comes Enric Andre, puts his car down the inside. We didn't see too much defence put up by Humphrey earlier on, and once again doesn't put up much of a defence, does the Evo SR driver. So up into 4th place now is Andre. We haven't seen a double being completed by a driver so far this season. However, Andre has got a brilliant chance at making that so, because he's now ahead of Karoni. Poor start as well for Anja. I say a poor start for Anja. He's up into 11th place, but only 3 places gained, so I imagine he was involved in something. It's surprising they hasn't been able to gain more places than that, as Humphrey is going to get done by Karoni as well.
It certainly looks like Humphrey is just trying to minimise the time lost. He's currently running P2 in the AM category, so there's no need to fight these guys. He's not in the race with these guys, so I think he's doing a sensible thing. He's just letting them go through, trying to minimise the time loss, and then he can concentrate on making a gap to Prato, who's currently 3rd, and potentially sitting on the back of these guys and letting them tow him towards Lee, who's currently leading the AMs and the race overall.
Bob Humphrey certainly showing his experience from previous seasons. I believe he won the amateur standings in the GTE Championship, in the American GT Championship a few months back. And once again, just responsible driving, which we see from most of the Evo SR drivers, to be fair. Usually McMahon is one of them, but he's had a bit of a mare of a day, making a few mistakes. But Humphrey, he will probably be sitting pretty high up in the championship if he can keep it on the black stuff, or the grey stuff as it is around this place. If he can do that, he'll be in a very good position. So Lee, as we move on to lap 4 of this race, Lee leads by 3/4 of a second ahead of Brumfield. Apologies, ahead of Powell, then it's Brumfield in 3rd. Andre, not quite catching up to him yet in 4th. Roland is just moving past Humphrey, actually, as we speak. Harris might be able to get past Humphrey as well. You'll see them a little bit further behind. Harris has got past Humphrey. So that was a move between teammates, and now Humphrey gets done as well by Eichenberg, who we haven't talked too much about so far. Bradley Holst has come back to the pits. Not sure if that was a tow back or no, that is a legit move back to the pits. Chose the wrong car, did Holst, I believe. Hence why it's in the... Was it Holst who got the wrong car? It's... no, apologies, it was Boland who got the wrong car. But Holst in the Ford, he's back to the pits now.
We see Prato getting passed by Andra, who's now up into 10th. Prato, he fell back. There's a big old gap, isn't there, from this front pack down to the chasing guys. Not sure what caused that. I know we saw an incident at the hairpin in the first lap, but I don't think there was that many cars involved in it.
He had a pretty slow lap last time round, didn't he? He did a 59 compared to the 58s of the guys ahead. So maybe just that gap slowly increasing to the others. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Prato quite putting as much pressure as he'd like on those top guys, down into, well, still in 3rd place, apologies, out of the amateur drivers.
Of course, it does help when you're running with the front guys. Obviously, they're naturally quicker, and if you can maintain some tow with them, then that's going to give you that little time bonus, isn't it, by following them round as much as you can. So that could be what it is. They've got the tow, they've managed to pull away. If you're driving on your own, you don't have that luxury, and you're going to fall back a little bit.
Stephen Brumfield set the fastest lap last time round. I think it's going to be Andre, though, with the fastest lap. This time, no, it's Karoni. I mean, both of them were very quick anyway. Both of them set faster laps than anyone else that last tour. However, it was Karoni who just about pipped his teammate. So Brumfield, who is still catching up to the guys ahead. I think he's a bit of a sitting duck here, though. How much pressure will he put on him? Of course, a new driver to Apex Racing League is Stephen Brumfield. He's certainly impressed on his first few meetings. This by far his strongest, and you can see he wants to hang on to this 3rd place as long as he can. So he puts his car to the inside. So a wide car is this BMW. So to get past one when you're driving one yourself is not the easiest task on the planet. And Brumfield doing a very nice job. Got a good exit from the hairpin. And to this part of the circuit, it's very tricky to overtake. Yet, Andre trying to, using the flashing of the lights. No mistake at the moment from Brumfield, but when you got these outside guys behind you, you got to just nail every single corner. One half mistake, 2 tenths lost in a corner, and it's over. You've lost the place.
Kind of feel he's a little bit of a cork in the bottle for them. Although, Powell's not pulling ahead of him, making a gap ahead of him. So he is driving well, is Brumfield. I've been impressed with him this season. He's not the kind of driver that puts in all these big, bold, daring moves. He just goes along with his business, puts the laps in, and sees where he ends up at the end, and it's paying dividends.
Here comes Andre though. Straight down the inside. That was pretty simple in the end. Brumfield trying to stay in the slipstream of Powell just ahead. Trying to respond though now, goes to the outside. He will get the slipstream. It seems like Powell hasn't quite moved across to the side of the circuit as quick as Brumfield would have hoped. And this is going to have to be probably the move of the season to get past from this position, and does have to back out of it. You can see the cone on the inside of the fence there. I believe that's where it spawns. But it's meant to spawn for some sort of reason, I think, within the wall. And yeah, it just spawns basically on the fence. And yet iRacing have never fixed it. So watch out for that.
Don't. I personally, I use that as a marker for the apex.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, I've always used it there. I'd be devastated if they moved it.
It's when that thing gets stuck in your car when you know that you've done something really wrong. John Gordon has had an off. He started up in 3rd place, did Gordon. Apologies, he started from the pits, didn't he? I think. So he's actually doing pretty well considering they started from the pits. He's up in 17th. But that was just an off track for him, so he loses a place to Craig Jones, who's having a nice race for himself. It's the 208 car. We're going to have to go back to the front rounds. I mean, this is literally the closest battle we've got on the circuit. We've also got this with Moons and Stevens. Shame for Stevens, how he's down so many places. Can't even recall what happened to Stevens earlier on, but he's from the front row of the grid down into 20th, and he's having to keep Moons and Kittelman behind him right now.
I think he was clipped, wasn't he? Just coming into the tighter left-hander as it turned 2. I think he was clipped and run out wide and then got freight trained a bit going through.
Yeah.
But another guy who's got some good pace in him, so he'll be trying his hardest to get back up. And Ronald Moons, we said about him in race 1, he's a very competent driver. He'll be sticking with Stevens for sure.
Powell seems to struggle a little bit through Sunset Bend because he had actually been able to gap Andre by about half a second. Here comes Andre though. This is the 2nd place. Is there any defence put up by Powell? I don't think he can. And he's down into 3rd place. Andre just with one more car to get past in order to probably complete the first double of the season. Behind him, Brumfield managed to defend against Caroni, and Caroni still trying to get past, taking alternative lines. You can just see Roland getting a little bit detached, which is surprising. I imagine that's a mistake from Roland, probably very early on in this lap, or maybe on the past few laps, because he should be faster than these guys. Here comes Brumfield. Wasn't quite a committed move. Had a look. Could have probably gone for it if he really wanted to. Wasn't a whole lot that Powell could do from that situation, but probably wise from Brumfield to stay behind. He wants to get past Powell, I think, for the sole reason just to get a car between him and Caroni.
He does have to be careful when he's coming into the hairpin like that. He does take a lot shallower line where he's looking for a move. That, of course, gives him a bad exit. He's not going to be on the power as early. Of course, you don't want to be delayed at all with Caroni behind you. He won't take a second invitation. He'll be right on top of you if you're not quick enough out the corner. But again, he's doing a solid job. He's Brumfield, keeping Caroni behind him. Caroni probably getting a little bit frustrated now, seeing Andre pulling away and getting after the leader on his own.
Andre now 1.3 seconds off the lead. Daniel Lee, I mean, what a great drive it has been from him. I think it goes without saying. Caroni, though, Brumfield seems like he sometimes defends, does Brumfield, and then sometimes he doesn't put up much defense. That time didn't really do too much, despite being one of the easier corners to defend around. Well, maybe he had it all figured out anyway. Here's me doubting his racing prowess, and he's absolutely done Karoni on the outside. He gets the inside for turn 1. I mean, it's almost to say he had a crystal ball there, and he knew that he had to be on the outside going to sunset, and he defends again. This is driving Jawad Karoni absolutely mad, the 2-time race winner so far this season. Karoni has just got past, though, Brumfield, so he is up into 4th position, so it must have been a nice move from him going through turn 2. We were just watching Dion Phillips move up into 11th place. Phillips up 16 places now after that retirement in race 1. He has got a lot of pace in that car. Karoni, of course, got past Brumfield, and now Rollins, who is well and truly on the back of these guys. Also, Eipenberg and Harris staying pretty close. Oh, well, that was a mistake from Karoni, I think. I just looked away, and Karoni was going very slow. Roland gets past Brumfield. That is some ultimate teamwork, if it was. Now they've got to make sure that they continue working as a team and don't take each other out. Here comes Roland, round the outside of Jawad Karoni. Karoni will keep parts of his car alongside. Does he have enough to come back down the inside? Brumfield tries to take advantage of this one. They make contact to the 2 teammates, and Brumfield can't quite nail the exit in order to get past one of them. And it is Karoni who stays ahead of Roland after all.
How Roland kept the car on the track there after the tap from Brumfield is astonishing. But this is what we're used to, isn't it? The first 2 rounds we were watching this kind of fighting from the satellite guys. We're getting to see it again. So confident in the cars that they're driving, not scared to put their cars in little gaps and force the issue. And Karoni once again coming out on top, and now it's head down and try and chase down Powell, who's currently in 3rd.
Yeah, but big gap that they've created now, 3 seconds, and you wouldn't bet against Roland trying to go for another attack on Karoni. Roland's usually the 4th fastest of the satellite racing drivers, but that's no mean feat. That's I think it's still maybe 5th in the championship is Roland. After a tricky race 1 at Watkins Glen, he's certainly cleaned up ever since then. He's certainly improved quite a lot. Brumfield nailing turn 1, but now only half second ahead of Eipenberg behind him. Garzotto's just got past Prieto, by the way, up into 12th place. Has Powell just you can just see a line off the circuit, I think, and that was Powell just going off the circuit, so he has just picked up an off track. I haven't really talked about that too much. Of course, for every 10 incidents you get 3 penalty points. So if you get 10 incidents, you get 3 penalty points. If you get 15, you get 3 penalty points. You get 20, you get 6 penalty points. It's really quite simple. And if you get 0 incidents, you get a bonus point. So something worth to keep an eye on. Garzotto currently with 11. Holland with 16. Don't know how he managed to do that, considering that he's out of the race. Hulse on 12. Also Stevens is on 10. So a few penalty points going to be dished out. Not too many drivers on 0 incidents at the moment. Although Karoni is on 0 incidents, so he might get a bonus point. Also, Daniel Lee, race leader, he's on 0 incidents. Very impressive. Boland's now getting... that Boland losing the place, no, gaining a place against Kev Copeland. That's for 15.
Another fun little battle down in the lower orders. Always see good racing from Copeland and Boland. Always they always seem to be in the action somewhere, don't they? As we look back over the past couple of rounds, always having a good old scrap, which is testament to the league, really, isn't it? You know, if there's always someone to be racing with, then you're going to enjoy yourself. Craig Jones on the back of this little fight as well. Craig's never shy of getting involved in a good old scrap too, so expect fireworks from these 3 as the race progresses.
Yeah, I think they're going to be stuck together to the end of the race. Jones much faster than these guys, though, on the last lap, catching them up quite nicely. Out in the lead, Lee is only 0.4 of a second ahead, 0.3 of a second ahead of Enric Andre. Lee, who got shuffled down the order in race 1. We didn't get a proper picture of his racecraft against these top drivers in race 1. Did make a couple of mistakes later on. A podium would be an incredible result, but hasn't won an amateur race, I believe, so far this season. And a little bit of a tap now from Enric Andre. making him very aware, now flashing the lights as well. He's going to make this one very tricky for Daniel Lee. He's still got over half the race to complete. If he wants to win this event, it would be remarkable if he could keep him behind for a few laps, seeing the way that Andrew has been totally dominant in today's races. Brumfield, by the way, has got past Roland, I believe. Yep. So Brumfield, Roland's struggling a little bit there. Drops back down to 6th place. That's strange for that one because he seems to be getting up ahead of steam, but not anymore. Anyway, I think we've got to stick with these front two because this lead could change any moment.
Yeah, you kind of feel it's a inevitability, really, don't you? As we see Andre going to the inside early, making Lee defend hard. Lee just gives him the space now. Up the inside goes Andre into 1st place. Can Lee carry the momentum around the outside, though? That's the big question now. Stick with him, maybe get a run going into turn 1. But as we said before, there's no real braking zone here. There's a lot of momentum required. Oh, Lee's getting really close, having a look to the outside. Andre taking a tyre to line.
Oh, it's a good exit for Lee. Here we go. Back down the inside, he goes off the BMW. Daniel Lee, who lost the lead just a moment ago. Can he take it back? Oh, nearly a quarter panel. And Lee does bring it back. That was a brilliant move, wasn't it? To get the cut back. And, well, I think that's the first time Andre's been overtaken today.
Absolutely stellar driving, and it makes a change because it's usually one of his teammates that's doing that with him. So yeah, outstanding stuff from Lee, going defensive again, coming down into the hairpin. He's really trying to make up for race 1, isn't he?
He really is, and he certainly is making up for race 1 as well. Good news for them is that they got Aaron Powell and Jawad Karoni battling amongst themselves in 3rd and 4th, so they're not gaining too much time. You can just see that battle go side by side behind. Here comes Karoni, who was overtaken by Roland on the outside of this corner earlier on. He tried to do the same trick, but it didn't work. Brumfield 1.5 seconds behind these guys. You feel like it's only a matter of time till he catches up. Alternative lines to that part of the track. Kev Copeland, by the way, with a mistake, down in 17th place, but I think he might stay in 17th place for now, so not too much time lost for him as once again Karoni going to the outside, defending brilliantly right now is Powell. Karoni doesn't just decide to go to the inside there, into the right-hander, and the gap's down to 1.4 seconds to Brumfield just behind. I think we're going to have to go back to the lead as well, because Daniel Lee is only 1/10 of a second clear again, and here comes Andre down the inside into Sunset. This worked well for him last time. Lee is offline. Stays ahead again though. Now, do you want to be ahead or behind going onto turn 1? I think Andre is going to have a good chance of going back down the inside into turn 1. Here he goes. Lee tries to cut the line. Lee round the outside, can he keep it on the circuit? Oh, contact between the two of them, and just moving ahead is Enric Andre into the lead. I think they were both understeering off the circuit, a bit of contact between the two of them, and Lee's valiant defence of 1st place comes to an end. Meanwhile, Jawad Karoni moves up into 3rd, past Aaron Powell.
I have to be brutally honest, I think Lee done Andre a big favour there. The amount of understeer that Andre picked up, if Lee's car wasn't there, he was heading to the grass. So unfortunately there was contact, but yeah, I think Lee has done a real big favour for Andre. And Karoni now free of Powell. He's got some pace in him, we know that. Can he get onto the back of these two? Will he bring Powell and Brumfield with him? That's the big question. Roland back past Eipenberg as well.
Yeah, those two changed quite a bit. John Tressida with an issue. That's down at turn 1. He is in 23rd place, is Chester. He was in 19th, so he's lost 4 places due to that. Kev Copeland and Craig Jones going side by side. They have, apologies, Kevin Boland and Craig Jones going side by side. They've dropped Kev Copeland just a bit further behind. Boland hanging on to that place. These guys about a quarter of a lap off the lead. They're 35 seconds behind at the moment. Of course, over halfway into this race 2 of the evening, round 6 of the Apex Racing League GT Championship. Hopefully you are enjoying the racing at the moment. A few moments ago, and apologies, this is going on a bit of a tangent, but just as it seemed like the lead battle was getting really exciting, I held off this talk. But I was looking at the overlay, and it looks, Deal or No Deal. It looks a bit like that. Don't you think, with the red and blue, and the fact that you got the red and blue, kind of a little bit sporadic down the order. I don't know, but it suddenly reminds me of that.
It's no good asking me about the colours. I made a right fool of myself yesterday explaining to the viewers that we had blue and we had pink. Turns out it was red. I'm colourblind and I totally screwed that up.
Okay.
So for me, we're watching blue and pink right now. Is what I'm seeing.
I'm sure all the other colourblind viewers though were very appreciative of your commentary. Could probably very much relate to that. I mean, to be fair, it is a bit. It's kind of purple, isn't it? It's a weird colour. Don't know why we chose it. It just looks nice. Looks nice. It's got pro. You see it and you know that it's pro. Anyway, Phillips gets past Humphrey. That was a nice move there from Dion Phillips. Great shame for him, of course. If he was involved in the reverse grid, then he would have been probably fighting for the win right now, fighting for a podium at least. Instead, he's quite a bit detached. Currently 15 seconds off the lead, but that's impressive considering they started down in 25th place.
Yeah, a solid gain of 18 positions for Dion Phillips. He's certainly going about this race, getting past people as quickly as he can. He's now, as you say, got a big old gap to the guys in front. But yeah, don't put it past him. He's a solid driver. He can probably cut that down fairly rapidly, you'd say. We've got 15 minutes of the race left, so plenty of time to do it. Another big mover, of course, is Jeffrey Gazzotto. We were all willing him across the line in race 1. He's gained 14 positions since the start of this race. So again, he's trying to make up for a bad one in race 1.
Yeah, he's not far behind, is he? Just sitting behind in the Gold Racing Team blue car. You can see Gold Racing represented out there. We don't see them on Apex Racing too much apart from the Sunday GT leagues, but great to know what other series they take part in. Maybe DJFX? I'm not quite sure. I think I've seen them in DJFX. Not quite sure. But Dennis Eifenberg, he's certainly representing them very well on the back of this train in 7th position. Brumfield still ahead of Roland then, but not by a big margin, and not really catching up to Aaron Powell anymore. I think just because they're fighting so much. And back comes Roland, who was involved in a couple of collisions in race 1, one of which was around this part of the circuit, I believe. And he's been able to move ahead, surely, of Brumfield. Can Brumfield stay around the outside? Contact again! And it's Eifenberg who benefits from that. And, well, it's a narrow circuit, this, and the corner exits really come up very quick. And was that net code? I'm not quite sure, but contact between the two of them anyway.
It is a very tight right-hander. You kind of feel that if you know there's a car making a move on the inside, just give them a bit more space. Brumfield seemed to want to take the racing line still there, even though there was a car coming up his inside. But fortunately, minimal contact. They're all pointing the right way again, and he only lost that. I mean, he lost to Roland and Eifenberg, but he's still running in 7th. Although he does have Andra bearing down with him and a raider knots behind now.
Yeah, he won't be best pleased to see another Satsite racing driver. He has to battle. It does allow Eifenberg a little bit free now. He's 3 seconds behind Powell. He's actually keeping up with Karoni. Karoni now catching up to Lee as well. Lee's just put in a slightly slower lap time. His fastest lap is a 58.17. Lee just did a 59.22, so about 1 second slower, which isn't bad, obviously. I mean, that's still a good effort. But if you lose maybe 0.4 of a second as he did there, then all of a sudden that gap to Kurani coming down a little bit quicker, 1.8 seconds. There's a decent chance from what we saw of Lee, the fact they managed to keep Andre behind him for about 2 laps. If he can get to about 2 laps to the end with Kurani on it, so he might be able to hang on to that second place. A podium anyway, and an amateur race win would be very good for Lee, and it would certainly launch his championship challenge. Of course, 2 drop rounds these drivers get across the season, so you know you can have a very poor start to the season. You can only join for round 3 and still win the championship potentially. So certainly is worth trying your absolute best getting these results in, because it could still be a season of success for Daniel Lee. Ronan 0.2 of a second behind Eipenberg. We've also got Humphrey and Garzotto going on, Brumfield and Andra. And then I've got Jones and Copeland going on. And Boland, Warren, Edwards, Moons, and Chester Kitzelman. If you want to check out all the battles going on without us showing them all to you, then you can check out the live timing link in the description below, provided by SDK Gaming, of course. And you can see the gaps between all the drivers, their last lap time, their best lap time, the pit stops, which is really useless in this situation because we don't have any pit stops. But it's all very useful for you. Garzotte, meanwhile, moves ahead, or at least tries to move ahead of Bob Humphrey, but the BMW got a much better drive, moving on to lap 16.
Certainly got a bit of grunt coming out of the corners of that BMW, and it's just meant that Humphrey can put his car back up the inside of Gazzotto there. But Gazzotto hanging it around the outside. Oh, he has got the job done eventually. Great move there from Gazzotto. Name there that you mentioned that we really haven't seen much of tonight is Brandon Warren.
Yeah.
I don't think we spoke about him at all in race 1.
I don't think he finished race 1. Not sure what happened to him. He got decently far. I think he got to within about 4 laps from the end. So he was on circuit for most of the race, but not at the end. So he finished in 26th place. Here he is. Maybe I think Stats Like Racing. Maybe they're not quite as been as dominant as they've been. So maybe that's affected Warren a little bit. The fact that maybe Stats Like haven't quite produced the same setup as they did at Watkins Glen at Road Atlanta. I mean, he's having a good race now. He's up into 17th place, which will still be decent points for him. Should still be in the top 3 in the amateur standings for Warren. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Could have been a little bit better for him still.
Yeah, it's a shame. We saw him have a few issues in the previous rounds, but fought back. We see Taj Edwards having a good old lunge up the inside onto the right-hander there on Boland. Nice move there. Late braking into the right-hander. Get it hooked up onto the apex and you can really drive out quickly. Daniel Lee now has got Coroni right on his spoiler, going down into turn 1. Coroni having a look. Is he going to send it? He thinks better of it. Probably a wise move there. Lee just covers him off. And again, you got to feel for Lee. There's a certain air of inevitability when you see Coroni come up behind you.
Yeah, it doesn't seem as though Lee is happy to take 3rd place, because Aaron Powell is now 3.5 seconds behind these guys, not really catching up. So if he did let past Coroni, he could probably hang on to 1st position quite comfortably to the end of the race. 3rd position to the end of the race, could Lee. Oh, he runs wide. Here comes Coroni, and Lee at a corner that he spun at in race 1, and also lost a lot of places at as well in lap 1 in race 1. It's cost him once again, and it is a Stats Like Racing 1-2. Lee drops down to 3rd, but like I said, that could be a blessing in disguise, because it means that he's going to fight less with Coroni, and it betters his chances of beating Aaron Powell in 4th.
You've got a crystal ball this evening, because it wasn't so long ago you said if you make a mistake going into a corner and you're a couple of tenths slower, satellite car will pass you.
Exactly. It's almost as though I know what I'm talking about. I really do get. It's incredible how much I pretend to know what I'm talking about. It's occasionally it's a bit lucky like that. I think Brumfield's just lost that to Anja just behind this. Yeah, Anja up into 7th now. Oh, Brumfield trying to come back though.
Looked like Andrew was a little bit squirrely coming out of that right-hander.
We've seen very few slowdowns, haven't we, on that back straight? Saying that there's always slowdowns. I don't think we've seen a single one. I'm sure there have been a couple, but you usually see a few drivers in the slow lane. Not as bad as Montreal, but still pretty bad. Here comes Andrew again then, so Brumfield managed to retaliate. Andrew round the outside, leaves his rival room. Really nice racing. Brumfield leaves the car's width on the outside. And they're going to be side by side for 2, 3, and 4 as well. Slide for Brumfield. And he loses out that position, even though he was probably had the upper hand going into that corner. Nice racing though from those two. I'm saying that we've seen a lot of contact so far today from other drivers. They left themselves a bit more than a car's width through each of these corners, which isn't easy to do in these BMWs.
No, they are big old machines, and especially in the tight, twisty parts of this track, it can be quite tough. But as we've seen from Brumfield regularly, he picks his fights sensibly. He'll always be respectful with it. And yeah, just unfortunately for him there, he got in a little bit hot, just lost the rear end. Done remarkably well to keep it pointing in the right direction, and yeah, unfortunately lost the position, but he's still going strong, and got maybe a couple of seconds back to Phillips now. So yeah, he's still going well. Still going well. Stick on the back of Vandra, and he should do just fine.
They're not. I don't think Andrew's going to be able to catch up to Roland or Eipenberg up ahead. It seemed like Brumfield and Phillips were quite evenly matched in race 1, so I imagine they're going to be quite a tight battle towards the end of this race, if Phillips can catch up at all, of course. We have got 4 minutes and 20 to go, and I say that as though I'm about to say how many laps we've got to go, but I'm not sure, to be honest. We've just crossed the line. So 4 minutes 20, that means 3 laps. 3 laps including this one. There you go.
Deja vu. We have the discussion every week, don't we?
We really do, and I always bring up the fact that I got a C in A-level maths, because one of my greatest achievements, of course, getting some A-levels. Oh, off the circuit is Warren and Moons. Haven't seen too much of Warren so far today, but when we do see him, it's not too nice, and I think he may have hit the wall as well, which is tricky to do, seeing around that corner. It's lost out right there to Taj Edwards. And Moons is still ahead of them. So Moons is just ahead.
Yeah, it looked like there was either a little bit of contact or Warren got a bit slidey. And yeah, unfortunately for him, Moons and Edwards managed to get past him. Looks like he's struggling a little bit for top speed. I don't know whether he was serving a slowdown on that back straight there, or whether he is carrying a bit of damage that we can't really see. But Moon's up to 17th now. Good showing for him, and Edwards just behind him. A couple of minutes left. I'm sure these two will have a little battle before the end for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Seems like Moons has been in a lot of battles so far. Today's, I think he may be involved in that battle with Jones and Copeland earlier on, potentially, but they're certainly a decent length behind them now. By the way, of course, if you want to score points in this race, you've got to finish within 2 laps, and so far everyone's on the lead lap, which is, oh, apologies, not everyone. Jonathan Kearns is 1 lap down, but he's the only one lap down. Everyone else is has retired from the race. 4 drivers: Holland and Holst, Davis, McMahon, as Kearns now comes into the pits. So he's got to get out pretty quick again if he wants to score points in today's race. Brumfield coming back at Andrea. Not something that we anticipated. Good straight line speed for the 193 car. He seemed to gain a couple of tenths of a second. Almost has to get out of the throttle through turn 1 in order not to hit his rival. Looks to the inside again. Not quite.
I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you suggested that the satellite guys maybe didn't quite have the setups that they wanted this week. I really didn't think that we'd be saying, Brumfield coming back at Andrew. I didn't see that being a thing, but yeah, he's giving it a go, isn't he? Definitely making Andrew think about it, and we saw the speed difference coming through turn 1 there. Brumfield able to carry so much more momentum. I want to say that the Brumfield could take this place before the end of the race, because Andrew certainly seems to be struggling a touch.
And now Brumfield struggling a touch as well with a little bit of oversteer.
There's that curse.
Yeah, there you go. Also, so you put on some oil on the circuit there, just for Brumfield to drive on. Now they're only 1.7 seconds behind Roland though. All of a sudden they're starting catching the guys ahead quite quick. I don't know if maybe Roland's tyres are starting to degrade a little bit more. I believe there's got to be more degradation. I mean, there's got to be more degradation because there was no degradation in the first place. So I imagine it's got slightly better in that department. So maybe Roland's struggling a little bit now because you can see now, you can see up to probably up to 4th place, Aaron Powell, and then 1.6 seconds back to Eipenberg, 1.6 seconds back to Roland, 1.4 seconds back to Andrew, and then of course 0.8 back to Brumfield as well. You can see almost everyone. You can almost see Daniel Lee as well in his Porsche, still running in 3rd place. So we are going on to the last lap of the race then. 40 minutes in length, and Enric Andre has built himself a comfortable advantage, still lapping faster than anyone else on circuit, 57.84. That's only, well, that's less than 1/10 of a second slower than his best lap so far in this race. He has been mega impressive so far today, hasn't he? And fully deserves the first double of the season and the championship lead as well.
It's certainly been mighty, absolutely. Even the gap he's got over his teammate Caroni, who we know is not slow, is just phenomenal. But big props to Lee, currently running P3, looking like he's going to bring it home for podium overall and an AM win on his debut, which is certainly an achievement in its own right.
Certainly is. Might have to be promoted to pro. I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure. I think to judge it on one round, maybe a bit harsh. We'll see how he does on the other rounds. I think he took part in Road Atlanta as well.
Did he? I don't recall. I might be wrong.
We'll have a look after the race, I think. No, he did take part in Road Atlanta. Yeah. So I mean, that shows how much he's improved today. The fact that we didn't really notice him last time. We've noticed Enric Andre so far this season, but we've taken a whole lot more notice of him today. Certainly the leader of the championship now, Enric Andre, the Satellite Racing, wins round 6 of the Apex Racing League GT Championship. Second place is Jawad Karoni, another second place for him. Good points today. Daniel Lee with his first podium of the season and the amateur race win as well. Powell and Eipenberg will finish 4th and 5th. Taj Edwards is having issues right at the end of the race. And there's issues for Phillips as well. Can he cross the line? Where did Phillips finish? He was just behind Garzotto across the line, but he did beat Harris. Like I said, Edwards, though, is stationary out on circuit. Has he run out of fuel, potentially? No, he's still going, but I think he's just spun it, perhaps. Over-rotation through that tricky right-hander. And Edwards has dropped down from 17th place down to 20th place now.
Absolutely heart-wrenching, isn't it? When something like that happens, you've driven your heart out for the entirety of the race, and then on the last lap, coming into the last few corners, you have an incident and you drop so many places. Such a shame for Edwards. He was looking good out there today.
And Kittelman's had a late problem as well. So we'll still finish on the lead lap. Will still score points. Did he just lose that place to Jay Saul? He may have done. Here's Kevin Boland, just having to fight off Brian Hotham right at the end of the race. This is Hotham's first race, I believe, of the season. And Boland just about gets him right at the end. 22 laps. And he'll be glad it wasn't 23, I think, as a big old crash as well. He will pick up incidents, I think, for that as well, which isn't the wisest thing to do. because you might get some penalty points. You don't want to do that. Kittelman has just crossed the line as well, I think. So everyone is across, and we can go through the final results. And it's Enric Andre winning his 3rd race win of the season, his 2nd race win of the day, ahead of Jawad Karoni, Daniel Lee, top of the amateur drivers. Aaron Powell, nice day for Powell. Where did he finished 6th, I think, in race 1 and 4th in race 2. Good points. There's Dennis Eipenberg, Nick Rowland, Cyandra, Stephen Brumfield, Jeffrey Garzotto, and Dion Phillips running out the top 10. There's Damian Harris, Bob Humphrey, Paolo Prieto, John Gordon, Craig Jones, Kev Copeland, Ronald Means, Brendan Warren, Tom Stevens, Taj Edwards, Kevin Boland, Brian Hotham, Joseph Saul, Kevin Kittelman was the last driver on the lead lap, and the last driver who will score points because 3 laps down was John Chester and Jonathan Kearns, and the proper retirees were Bradley Hulse, Derek Holland, Russ Davis, and Tom McMahon. So, interviews with drivers. Usually we just get these satellite drivers. Hopefully we'll get a few other drivers for today. Of course, break week next week, Adam. We've got a weird schedule because of the 12 hours next week. We kind of thought it'd be a good chance to have a preparation event this week, so hence why we're running in week 13, but a break week for next week. So yeah, drivers are going to have some time off, I guess.
Well, you say that, but of course it is the 12 hours next week. So I would imagine that a lot of these guys will probably be racing for their teams during the race. I think having the special event yesterday, the 2 hours, was good preparation, and again tonight, even more preparation. I wouldn't surprise me at all if we see pretty much all of the field out there next week. Doing the iRacing official.
Definitely, and best of luck to them, and best of luck to everyone who's watching along for that 12 hours race. We are going to have a chat with one driver straight away. Jeffrey Garzotto is in the commentary booth with us to have an interview. Congratulations, Jeffrey. It was a tricky round, but at the same time, you had brilliant pace out there. You must be delighted with how quick you were.
Oh yeah, oh boy, these, I really like this new tire model. I've honestly never felt super comfortable with GTEs before, so I was really nervous when I signed up for this championship. But this new tire model, plus I have a good pure driving school setup, but yeah, I just feel really good here, and this track is my favorite on the calendar, so that helps. Well, race 1 was just gutting, because I ran out of fuel. I didn't calculate for the pace lap. Race 2, I overfilled, but no big deal. 25th to 9th, I really can't complain.
Absolutely. I mean, you should have listened to the broadcast afterwards. We were crying, basically, in the commentary box when you had that spin, because it was so good up to that point. How would you say the Porsche is now with this new tyre model? Do you think it's benefited compared to other cars?
It's difficult to say because I haven't really driven the other cars except for 3 laps in the Ferrari, but I will say compared to the old tire model, the Porsche was always, I really felt it was a car that it's a nice point and shoot, has a good rotation, but it was always really hard to find that sweet spot between locking up your brakes and understeering. But now it's, with the feedback from the new tire model, I really feel like I can throw it around. It's a very nimble car, but stable at the same time too.
Definitely. And how did you find the racecraft today? I mean, we saw quite a few incidents, but yet you didn't seem to make contact with too many other drivers.
I can't complain because I survived lap 1. It could have been a bit better. Things were just really, it was a big old traffic jam into 2 of the corners, but you know, I think that's to be expected with Sebring, and I was starting behind AM drivers. But no, in terms of like just racing wheel to wheel after that, I can't complain. Everyone was very polite to me.
Well, it's great to have a chat with you, Jeffrey. Is there anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Oh, just a shout out to my teammates, John Gordon, Dennis, Taj. Taj didn't have the best of days. I was talking to him, but yeah, just shout out to those guys.
Well, thanks again for having a chat with us, Jeffrey, and best of luck for round 4 of the championship.
Thank you.
That was Jeffrey Garzotto finishing in 25th and 9th positions today. Adam, who would you like to have a chat with?
Well, it seems as if the whole satellite team have come together again. So I don't know if we want to do individuals or whether we just want to bring them all in as we seem to do most weeks now.
Shall we bring in 2 of them, shall we? So if you want to have a chat with perhaps Karoni and Anja?
Yeah,
or...
sure. Yeah, no, we'll do that. And here they are, Gerard Karoni and Enric Andre. Welcome to the booth, gentlemen. First off, how was tonight for you? It seemed like you were struggling just a little bit compared to previous weeks.
Yeah, good evening, and yeah, we're struggling a bit with the new time model. The GT cars are a lot different to drive. You need to be really more careful on the tires, and all the setups need to be restarted. So I think that all of the other guys also did some great work on the setup, and obviously the level in terms of setup development is now back to 0.
I see. Well, I say that you seem to struggle. Of course, double win for yourself, Andre, and 2 seconds for you, Jarad. So it wasn't all bad. How do you feel that the car has kind of changed? Is it a positive thing, this new tire model, or is it something that you kind of not really sure of? Maybe you want to go back to the old style.
Definitely, I don't want to go back on the V6 one. Those one are a lot better. I think for everyone it's the same feeling that we feel for once the road, the track, and now it's more intuitive to drive. You can really feel the tire get hotter. But considering tonight's race, this was the first 2 races I did since the new tire model was released. So yeah, I think it's just about the BOP now. The tires is the same for everyone. As Enric said, we need to work on the setup again. But the BOP is not really what we expect. The Ferrari is still slower. You struggle in the draft, and the Porsche seems to be a lot more faster than it was. So yeah. Sometimes I want to change the car, but I don't want to take the 50 points penalty. So we keep the Ferrari, and let's see how the races go.
We just spoke to Jeffrey Gazzotto, who basically said the same thing. He's in the Porsche, and he said it's become a lot more nimble now. So maybe that is something for the BOP needs to be looked at. Next week we have a week off, but of course it's the iRacing 12 Hours of Sebring. Will you guys be racing in it? I'm assuming you will be.
Normally, yes.
Yeah, normally Jawad will drive in GT and I will drive in GT3, and we're looking forward to that race with the new tire model. I think that it will be interesting to see the different teams coming with different strategy, as from the testing seems like tire wear is much more of an issue. Let's say that the driving style is very important when it comes to the tire wear. Someone who is pushing a lot will really overheat the tires, and you will need to be careful in the next few laps. So yeah.
Interesting times for your strategists. Thank you for coming to speak to us, gents. Is there anyone you'd like to say thanks to, or say hi to your sponsors or whoever?
Yeah, thanks to Alice Engineering. Thank you to Track Racer, to Mezzine, and also to the whole team at Satellite.
Awesome. Well, good luck next week, gentlemen, and congratulations on your podiums and wins this evening.
Thank you, and thanks for the broadcast.
Yeah, thanks for broadcasting. See you.
There we go then, Gerard Karoni and Enric Andre.
Yes, so we might have a few more interviews. We'll next bring up the other 2 Satellite Racing drivers, of course, Nick Verland and Sai Anja, who both had decent results today as well. First up, Nick, you were involved, it seemed like, for the entire day involved in battles, and in the end you got a couple of sixth place finishes, I believe.
Yeah, it was pretty good in the end. It was a wild race out there, to be quite honest with you. It's so hard to pass a BMW in a Ferrari. It's only right at the very end of the back straight that you actually start to close, and the aero kicks in, and then you've got to be very ballsy to try and send it, or try some of the moves that I tried to do to get by people. But it was crazy, but it was good fun. It was great to do a couple of races on the new tire model as well.
Definitely, and the track temperature between the two races was quite different. It was about 10 degrees different. Did you find much of a difference? Of course, that's been a criticism of the old tire model. Would you say there was a big difference between the grip, or would you say it's been shrunk a little bit?
I would actually say it shrunk a little bit. It feels a lot better. It feels like the times look a little bit more realistic as well. Because it was a longer race, I definitely found that the rear of the car moved about a lot more than what we'd had previously. And I looked at my tyres at the end of it. They were still in good condition. I was able to carry mid-corner speed compared to the BMWs, but as soon as they hit the loud pedal, they were gone. There was nothing I could do with them in a straight line.
And so it was a frustrating day for you, I imagine, because it looks as though you were really quick out there, but just that race one, a couple of issues, that contact on lap one really kind of defined the rest of your evening.
For sure, it was the race to forget, and I think I know which week I'm going to drop now. So hopefully if that works out, I'll still be in the hunt for the championship, but it really hurt today not being able to finish on the podium like I'm used to, and also not being able to bring the fight to my teammates like I'm used to.
Absolutely, I'm sure we'll see you back up the front for the next round of the championship. We've already talked a little bit to your teammates about the 12 hours coming up next weekend. How confident are you feeling about that? Do you think it's going to be... Do you expect any differences in this special event compared to old special events with this new tire model?
I think there's going to be a lot more variation in the kind of teams that make up the grid. Because I think in the we've only had a week with the new tire model, and we're only going to have another week of testing between the 12 hours and now. So I think there's going to be a couple of teams that figure it out quicker than the other teams. So there's going to be a little bit of a mix-up in the traditional order of which teams finish where, so to speak. And I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully, Satellite can pull something out of our hat, so to speak.
Definitely. Well, before we let you two go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Oh, the usual. Ellis Engineering, Track Racer, Nick and Eric Jawad, Brandon, all for coming together every Sunday night to run this league. It's kind of become a staple for our team at this point.
Well, I'm very pleased to have you guys involved. Really well done today, and best of luck for round 4 of the championship in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So that was Nick Rowland and Sai Andra. Adam, are you happy to take this last interview with Dennis?
Of course, yeah. I'll have a nice chat with Dennis. And here he is, Dennis Eipenberg. Solid performance out there tonight, Dennis. 3rd in race 1 and 5th in race 2. Yeah, talk us through your evening.
Yeah, it was all in all good. Practiced a lot for this track, and it's good to see that practice actually pays off. In terms of my race, I just managed to stay on track, and the cars in front of me just magically vanished at some point. Hence why I ended up 3rd. I thought I was going to end up 4th, but then again my teammate ran out of fuel in the final lap, unfortunately for him, fortunately for me. And yeah, 3rd place.
Topic of the evening has really been the tyres. How did you get on with the new tyre model this evening? Would it have any adverse effects to how you would normally drive the car?
Well, you're obviously a little bit more cautious in the beginning of the race. But other than that, I love them so far. Maybe it is because it is a little bit more bouncy, but I felt a little bit more connected to the track in general. Somebody earlier said a little bit more realistic lap times as well. So yeah, I'm curious. I've only tried them on this track so far, but I'm curious how it will play out on other tracks.
Moving forward, of course, this is been a solid week for you. Does that give you confidence going into the rest of the season, knowing that you're getting a handle on the car now and that you can put in these performances?
Of course, you never know. And then again, I don't make myself any illusions. I don't think that that I'm able to win the championship, because there's a couple of guys who are consistently very, very quick. But I'm aiming to actually get third, and who knows?
Oh, well, after tonight's performance, anything is possible. But as you say, there are some quick guys out there. Next week, we have a week off, of course, but there is the iRacing 12 Hours of Sebring. Will you be participating in that?
No, not this time. Unfortunately, not.
Oh, so all this practice tonight was
All for this, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair enough. Okay, well, excellent. Before we let you go, do you want to thank any of your sponsors?
Just my teammates and Gold Racing team in general. But John, Taj, and Jeffrey, they all did great. I think we finished or we qualified in the top 10. And yeah, hopefully with a bit more luck, we can all finish in the top 10 the next couple of races as well.
Awesome. Well, Dennis, it's been a pleasure. Congratulations again on your 3rd and 5th this evening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for round 4.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the broadcasting, and see you in 2 weeks.
That was Dennis Eichenberg, and as Adam was saying earlier on, 3rd and 5th positions for him today, one of the highest scoring drivers of the evening. So that pretty much rounds out our coverage for this meeting 3 of the season in the Apex Racing League GT Championship. Of course, there is plenty more coming up on Apex Racing TV in the coming week, and also on the iRacing Esports Network tomorrow. We're going to be broadcasting the World GT Championship, of course, and on Wednesday we're back with the Sim Racers World GT Championship as well, both of them on the iRacing Esports Network. But we'll also have Indy cars, I'm hoping, on Friday, and also the Formula Renault 3.5 Championship on Saturday. That will be on the Esports Network as well. And of course, we'll be back with this championship as well in 2 weeks' time for meeting 4 of the season. But for now, from me, from Adam, and from Sam, we're going to say goodbye, and we'll see you next time.